A brawl is surely brewing.
Spread shot is one of the worst guns in the game, while also one of the best guns in the game. For instance, if you do a boss like Ruby Croaks or Baroness Bonbon, it's gonna be practically useless. Although, it can actually be a pretty solid weapon if used in fights like Cuphead Inkwell or Rupeck, or just any boss where you actually get close to the enemy. In this video, I'm going to be doing Inkwell Isles 1 and 2. If you guys want to see me do 3 and 4, just let me know down in the comment section, I'll probably do it. Anyway, without further ado, let's get this started. First things first, I need to load up a new save file. Luckily for me, I didn't even have to delete one, because I already had one waiting for me. Also, that 2% is from me buying Smoke Dash. I got the coins from the guy on the bridge. Now, I actually skipped the tutorial because I wasn't able to shoot the target with my pea shooter because pea shooter is not spread shot. Nevertheless, I started out with the first running gun. This running gun was actually pretty hard because I had to do it pacifist, which didn't make it any easier. Usually what would happen is I'd get overwhelmed with all the things on screen, take damage, and have to restart. Right here, I actually learned a trick from one of my friend's videos. I'll link his video in the description, but basically you can parry off one of the little pink things that shoots at you to get over the little machine without doing damage to it. All in all, it took me about 30 minutes to do this running gun. Now on to the first fight. I started off with the root pack because I assumed it would be the easiest, and yeah, it was. For the first phase of him, you just want to get up close to him and shoot him, and then try to dodge his little pellets he shoots at you. Try to get as many EX cards during this as possible. For second phase, use all those EXs you got on him to spam him with it. You do this not because he's hard or anything, just so you can get done with him quickly. And for his third phase, all you really have to do is just shoot up, because the carrots will usually get destroyed by the spread shot, and just kind of jump up and down so you can do maximum damage. With the root pack packed up, get it? Okay, I'm not funny. I could finally move on to Ruby and Croaks, which would easily make or break this challenge. Now for the first and second stage, they were both really easy, you know, they didn't really have too many challenging aspects, but I'll still go through them. For the first phase, you just want to get right up to him so you can do the maximum damage, whilst keeping mindful that you have to jump over his little punching bag things, I don't know. The second phase was really just the same thing. I went up to the guy on the right and just kind of shot him really close where his hitbox was. I just had to make sure to dodge the little ball thing flying around the room. Now the third phase was completely RNG based. I had to get Snake multiple times in a row if I even wanted the chance at beating it. Now the first time I attempted this challenge, this one destroyed me, but when I came back, it only actually took me like 20 minutes to get this RNG, but yeah, it was worth it. Finishing off Ruby and Croaks, it was time to move on to the next boss. The next boss I decided to do was Fairground, which unsurprisingly took me like one attempt because it's not very hard. All you really have to do is try not to get squashed by this bouncing bean. Like literally, if this character was brown, he would look exactly like a bean. His second phase was really just the same story, it was just a bigger bean. Not really much to talk about here. Moving on to his third phase, all you really had to do was run around and try not to get hit by it. Which is easier said than done considering I just got destroyed right there. Now I'm just confused how I didn't A+ this boss. How did I manage to actually take damage on this? I then moved on to the second run gun, which is also a requirement, just like Mauseum's. And now I had to dodge all the miniature jumping beans. A lot of beans in this video, huh? I'm kind of hungry editing this, maybe I'll go eat some beans. The one enemy that shoots spike balls at you, it's kind of sad because he's actually kind of just rooted to the floor, so he doesn't even move if you try to shoot him, so it's kind of sad. The final part of this is basically just parkour, but in Cuphead. I never thought that'd be something I would say. I actually got hit here, which was concerning because usually I damage boost past the final guy, but I found a new way. I waited until I was on the very edge of the leap before jumping up and dashing over the guy. I actually learned that trick on my own, huh? Cool. With that, I moved on to my first Mauseum just so I could get Miss Chalice in a super art. There really isn't that much to talk about here. All I really did was squash them to death by landing on their face with my foot. With that wrapped up, I moved on to the DLC island just to go get Miss Chalice and go get Heart Ring. Now that I had everything I wanted, I moved to go kill Cagney Carnation. This boss gave me some trouble, but it wasn't really too hard. All it did was just take a few attempts, just like everybody else. All I really did was dodge the blue slipper thing when he threw it at me, and dodge the little carrot projectiles he threw at me. Like, it was just a bunch of dodging, really. The final phase was easy. All I had to make sure was that I was on the right platform, and I didn't get hit by the little flower petals. All in all, I was actually making pretty good pace, but that wouldn't last for long. Now we're moving on to the final easy boss, Hildeberg. Like I said, this is the last easy boss in the game. Well, actually it's one of the last easy bosses because all the flight levels were actually pretty easy, but yeah. So really, this one was just business as usual. I couldn't use spread shot, so it really didn't affect this part. With all that in mind, I'm just going to skip over this fight. Little did I know what was in store for me after I beat this isle. Now it was time to move on to Verone. Where do I even begin? This fight probably took me around 30 minutes to an hour in total. And the only reason it was hard because one, that little muffin guy who jumped around the screen, he was hard to do damage to. I'll tell you why in a minute here. In the last phase, the angle that I had to work with was just downright annoying. Now here's a clip of me getting destroyed by a literal muffin. Never thought I'd say that. Now on your screen it might look like I'm hitting him and doing pretty decent damage, but really what was happening is my spread shot was either hitting the floor or running out of distance and it didn't really hit him. And the problem was I actually had to get close to him, which is like the opposite of what you want to do with this guy, so he was really annoying. The only way I ended up actually beating him was by not beating him. I just kept trying until I got a run without this guy in it. So as you can see here, I'm on the last stage of the fight with 2 HP. It was looking pretty good for me, but of course it wasn't. Now the problem with the final phase is I have spread shot. I have to get close to her, which means I have to get close to the castle, and since the castle is constantly moving towards you, I'm gonna die pretty quickly. And then you also have to dodge those little spinning things that I forgot the name of. And the only reason I beat her is because, anguish. Time and anguish. I eventually got her, but it was not fun. But as I said, I eventually got her. Here's the run. I started out with the Candy Corn Goblin, a pretty easy foe, if I do say so myself. After swiftly beating that Candy Corn Goblin to death, I then moved on to my next mini-boss, the Bubblegum Machine guy thing. I don't know his name. Actually, I know none of these guys' names. I actually even got hit during this phase, which is a bit embarrassing. I then moved on to the Chocolate Waffle thing. I do actually wonder what their names really are, but I'm too lazy to check. Soon enough, I'd beaten him too, and it was time to move on to the final phase. I ended up using all my remaining HP to beat her, but it was all worth it in the end. Honestly, I'm just happy that I beat her because she took a long time and she was a big roadblock for me. Now I moved on to Pepe the Clown, which is a pretty hard boss by itself, but it didn't take too many tries. For the first phase, I just get up close to him and shoot him with spread shot and dodging his little dash attack. The second phase is me just shooting his head while trying to avoid the inflatable dogs. I have no idea what those are. Honestly, this phase wasn't really that hard, so time to move on to the next one. Honestly, this phase was really easy. I just sat under him and shot him. I just had to be careful to avoid getting hit by the train, which I wasn't very careful. Moving on to the final phase, the only hard part about this was avoiding all the baseballs that got shot at you. After my pea shooter only video, I thought this one would be really hard, but honestly it was really easy with spread shot. I then moved on to the Jimmy the Great. Honestly, he was pretty easy as well. I just retried until I got a sword phase where he shot swords out of a chest, because those were the easiest to parry and dodge. And if you combine this with Heart Ring, it also allows him to get more HP, which is pretty cool. I still don't understand this wall phase, like what even is he? Like, he's legit just a cylinder. I wonder who came up with this. I don't know, it's kind of cool, but it's just kind of weird to me. I actually didn't even have my secondary bombs, because I didn't talk to the guy for whatever reason, so I actually had to shoot him with my normal gun. And I kid you not, this is the first time I've ever beaten this guy normally. That is not a lie. Every single time I've attempted to beat him, I've either failed, or I did it with the bombs. His fourth phase was really short. It was probably because I nuked him beforehand, but honestly it was kind of weird. Honestly, there's not much to talk about for his last phase. It's probably one of his easiest phases, I guess. Well, not easier than the first phase, but it's pretty easy. I then moved on to the next run and gun, the little Fairground thing, I think. Honestly, for the first part of this, it's a lot easier if you don't shoot the balloons, because if you shoot them, it shoots a bunch of, like, cannonballs at you, and it's honestly a lot easier to dodge if you just don't do that. Also, I kid you not, this little mini-boss here is probably one of the easiest mini-bosses in the game. Like, literally, all you have to do is run back and forth. And then we moved on to the last part, the little platform section. I have no idea, honestly, what this part is called. I wonder how many times I've said, I have no idea, or just something along that lines in this video. It's gotta be a lot of times. Probably more than 20, honestly. For the last part, I kind of just jumped over it because I couldn't fight it normally because of spread shot, but yeah, it was kind of easy. I then moved on to Wally Walbers, the final airborne fight of this challenge video. Honestly, airplane fights are just here just so I can actually beat the challenge 100%. Like, I could totally cut these parts out of the videos and it wouldn't even matter. Because obviously you can't beat the entire game with one weapon because you have to do airplane fights, so I don't know. The only really hard phase he has is what my friend Tak calls his Megamind phase, which is kind of a fitting name. Also, this one video alone has gone over 200 recordings of either failed recordings or recordings that made it into the video, so nice. That's voiceover audio recordings, by the way. His last phase was really easy. All you have to do is shoot down and try not to get hit, but I don't know. I think I did pretty good. I don't really have too much to say about this boss. Like, I don't know, like I said, he's pretty easy. Finishing out Wally Walbers, it was time to move on to the second mausoleum, which is, again, a requirement. Just like any mausoleum, it was really easy, not too much to say here. I'm just going to skip over it. For whatever reason, I actually can't even find my footage for my second run gun. I don't know, maybe I was tired and forgot to record it, but that kind of sucks. I don't know. But here's some footage of me proving that I did in fact do it, because you can see the flag there. Moving on to the hardest boss yet, Grim Matchstick. You guys don't even know how long this took me. It took me like an hour, which doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, if you sat down for an hour and played this game, it's a lot. Honestly, the real problem was, like, the fight itself wasn't hard, it was the third phase that really got me. I was never really good at the third phase, but the problem with spread dodge, you have to be close up, otherwise your bullets just don't hit it. And with that boss, you don't really want to get close to that boss. Honestly, it's really hard. So with that information, I decided, well, hey, what if I damage boost through it all? That way I can do a lot of damage and not have to deal with the really, like, hard boss. Now, I did some testing and figured out if I were to damage boost through the entire thing, I need to be using the second super art, and I also need to have 6 HP, so I had to use Heart Ring. So, no miss Chalice. Honestly, all this fight really came down to was, could I essentially S-rank it, but on regular mode? Because I can't get hit, but I also need to get the parries necessary. Honestly, a second phase wasn't really that much. I just had to dodge the little fireballs and shoot them in the mouth. Now I'm going to show the entire fight for the third phase because I just want to show you it. So as you can see, I activate the invincibility and I just basically go inside of it and just shoot him a bunch of times, and then I just damage boost the entire time, and miraculously it worked out for me. That's something I never thought I would say. I think I've said that like 3 times this video. And with that, I'd beaten Cuphead Inkwell Isles 1 and 2, spread shot only. This video was heavily inspired by one of my friends' TakIsBased, although the idea came from my comment section and I also thought of the idea. The only reason I actually did this challenge was because I already wanted to do it, but then I saw a comment asking me to do it, so I was like, might as well. So the lobber only video that I'm making is actually going to take a lot longer to come out because, well, I'm dumb and I accidentally deleted the footage. That's not even a lie. I wish I were joking, but yeah, no. So that's why I decided to make the spread shot only video. I just want to let you guys know that videos are going to start slowing down because, well, I have school now, so that's going to take up a lot of my time, but I will try to balance it out, which I probably will. So if I ever take like a week in between a video, just give me some time. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you to Classic Games for suggesting this video to me. Thank you for watching this video. I'm going to go now. Have a nice day. Bye!